I have a great class set up for you today. So today we're going to be doing brows. I have to apologise. I picked up one of my, sorry to name drop, but Kelly Rowland bought this for me. It's an amazing sharpener. And I picked it up this morning and I stuck my finger and I really gashed it. So that's not a filthy band-aid. I put that on like 2 minutes ago. So this is the divine Courtney. Now I met Courtney on a job not so long ago, and she was also a member of High Five. She's not available for kids' parties. I've already tried that one. So excuse the noise of the dog. That's going to be fun. Okay. So what with brows, what I want to talk about is the structure and where I like brows to go. One thing I notice that women love, and men, is when they put their hair into a really, really tight ponytail. Damn, that's distracting. In a tight ponytail. And the reason why you feel so lifted, for a couple of reasons. One, it does lift your eyes, but it straightens your brow, which is a really interesting thing. So, first thing, with the brow, whatever angle the brow is from here down can control your eye shape a little bit. So, anything from here down, if it drops, if you have like this arch and this is going on a downward angle, it actually will pull the eye down. So to get a lift, what you want to do to make eyes look younger, you want to always lift in here, because this is what shrinks as we age, the distance between there and there. And if you keep that low, you get a bit of a cranky look. You know, some people think, oh, why is she cranky? She's not, it's just eyebrows. So be really careful. And it's something that, like, I was from the 80s, it was all about arching and arching. Arching is good sometimes, but not all the time. So rule number one, I like to create space here. So Courtney she's like a tiny bit low. I wouldn't mind lifting her up, but if I do and I take out that fine line, I'm gonna lose too much hair there, so I'm not gonna do that. The other thing, Courtney's brows are a bit darker than when I saw her last time. She's had the typical thing where a brow artist has cut the hair, which I do not like. Sorry, we had this conversation earlier. But she didn't know what other options there were. There's an amazing brow artist called Jazz Pampling. I'll put her in the link in the notes. She's the only person I've seen do this technique, and it's incredible. And she raises the hair. So if you've got long hairs, you don't want them to look like they've been cut, but she does this little, I can't even, it's so amazing. She raises it, so when you comb them up, they're fluffy and their hairs look like they're naturally shorter. So one, we're gonna lift in here. So if you're quite low, ladies and gentlemen, you can take like a fine line from underneath, but make sure though you've got enough hairs there, because remember, if you take them out there, you're going to lose them from there. Second thing, with the end of a brow, I was taught the rule, there was a rule when I did makeup, it was corner of the nose to the corner of the eye, and that's a nice place for that to end. I've learned something since then. Yes, having that length is beautiful, but if you want to make yourself look more lifted or more youthful, shorten the brow. Okay, because then when we get older, we can get like a hollow temple. And what happens, the brows, if you arch them and have them a little bit long, they actually drag that into the temple area, which actually pulls the eye down. Problem with that, if you really arch your brows, there's a couple of problems. One, you get this comes down, cranky brow. This comes down, so you're causing a droop. And if you really arch them, you get like a McDonald arches. And if you really round them, another thing, so this is all the things that go into my head when I do a brow. If you're rounded under the eyes, if you're concerned about eye bags or roundness or droopiness, and you have a round eyebrow, you're creating a full circle. So ladies, gentlemen out there, if you're really rounded, straighten the brow. Okay, so the length we're gonna shrink. We're not gonna peak this too high. The other reason is as we get older, this brow bone becomes a lot more predominant. So if you start lifting this up, what you're doing is you're creating a bigger brow bone, and it's not a great idea. Now, where they start is really interesting. So my rule of thumb is you start your brow with however wide you want your nose bridge to look. So her brows at the moment are here. Now, that's fine. But when they're at this width, what becomes a focus is this, what I call it the letter Y, this part of the nose bridge, which in some people, if it's too wide, can look a little bit hard. I like to not have that area as the focus. And then also, if your brows are here, so imagine they're on that angle. So if they're on that angle, can you see what happens? You just create this circled eye, and what happens is your eyes get focused on the bridge of the nose. But watch what happens if I take the angle out and move her brow in to what I call the desired bridge nose width. So if I do that, what you'll notice is your eyes go down the bridge of the nose, and her nose even looks sometimes smaller. okay, as opposed to there. So that's where I want her, how wide I want her nose to look. If you've got a really thin nose, you can widen it, vice versa. The only time this rule breaks is if your eyes are a little bit close together. So I know it's a bit confusing, but rule number one, bring them in to how wide you want your nose to be. If your eyes were a little bit close together, you're gonna have to you gotta choose your battle, just separate it slightly. Now, okay, so first thing I'm gonna do is I've got the length, I've taken out any ones that I don't want. I'm gonna stick them up. So there's a few ways that I do that, depending on how strong the hair is. Troy Surratt, I love this brow gel. Another one that's great and affordable is this 1000 Hour. I love this one. The trick with brow gels though, you've got to hold them till they dry. Because if you've got brows that are going down like that, and you just do this to it and walk away, because this product is wet, those hairs can start to drop, it dries and hardens, and now you've got stuck brows there, not where you want them. So I always tell my assistants, or if I'm doing something, even the model, I'll get her just to put a finger there, just hold it till it dries. I do Jess Malboy quite regularly, and one of my Korean models I do as well, they have brows that grow straight down, and there is nothing that holds it bar Prosade. Prosade, sometimes I'll use a glue stick as well. So Prosade's a special effects product, and I just put it into the roots and I comb it and I let it sit. But the other thing I love is soap brows, which I've been doing forever. I just get the pear soap because the color, Fix It spray's great. Now what you want to do with any brow work is you don't want to get the product on the skin behind it. I'm again so sorry about that band-aid. If you get any brow product onto the skin behind it, and because the forehead, the angle of the forehead, this is a very strong highlight area, and a lot of these brow products are shiny, so they make the skin look really, really shiny. So you gotta these are the moments, if you take 30 seconds now, you'll save it later. So go get those little Muji or really tiny, tiny cotton buds and make sure none of it's on the skin. And the reason I don't pencil any of this in yet, because a brow can completely change just from combing it up. I want to show you the first trick that I do. To me, it's about doing minimum strokes for maximum effect. When I do a brow, most of the time, I don't really even touch the hair that already exists. I just go around it. So let's talk about product. So I love sorry about that dog again. I love to use NARS gel liners. I find sometimes eyebrow pots, the paint is too transparent, it's sheer, and I want to create the finest hair-like stroke. So I'd rather something that's got more pigment, but I apply less of a line. So I do like just eyeliners. If you're a makeup artist, get a white, a grey, a black, a brown, and a chestnut. They're the only colours you'll ever need. Forever you can make any colour you want. My absolute phase, and every time I don't have it, I lose it, the Makeup Forever tubes. These are great because they're slipperier. You get a bit more time and you get more precise. The brush just slides better. But the trick for this, ladies and gentlemen, I promise, hand on heart, this will be the best brow brush you will ever use in your life. So this is my number 16. This is one of the hardest ones for us to do, or for me to get it so sharp. And I worked out the trick. Traditional eyebrow angle brushes are on a certain angle. And what I've done is I've tilted the angle so it's more like a blading technique. You will get the finest hairline strokes. So if you're new to this, or you're a makeup artist and you want to learn the trick, put the product on the back of your hand, and I have a technique called Sharpening the Sword. And what I mean by that, you can have the sharpest brush in the world, but if you're heavy-handed and you add too much pressure to any brush, you can make the bristles move. So your next stroke is a big blob. So what you need to do is put the product here, you do 1 to 2 strokes, stop, sharpen your sword. Back in, 2 to 3 strokes, stop, sharpen your sword. And the last most important thing before I do this part, the color should match the hair exactly. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, and I'm very, very anal when it comes to brows. I've got the Makeup Forever number 25 and 35, one's lighter, one's darker. And what I'm doing is I've got both colors on the back of my hand and I'm gonna alternate them. What you wanna have on standby, have your angle brush, if you can have a second one. I always say get 2 and keep it clean and have a little bit of your foundation color on it. And what this is for, it's an eraser. So if you make a mistake, you can quickly slice the hair or sharpen edges, really important. So what you need to do is make sure that you can do the finest of strands. And I'm just gonna give her like 1, 2. These are so fine you probably won't even see them. That's the idea. So what I want to do here, just getting sure it's getting this colour right, is just going to put one in there, one in there, one in there. I know you're thinking I can't even see what you're doing. That's kind of good. What colour I want? So I want to go there, there, there. I don't want those hairs to be too sharp. I want to soften it, but these ones I want them to be like little hairs, so these ones will look a lot sharper. 1, 2, 3. So the direction I always want hairs to go straight, this angle, and then down. Always stop and look back from a distance because you can just put too many in. So what I'm doing is I'm still keeping this featheriness, if that's a word. Just want to fill that little gap there. Come this way for me. And then I'm going to give her a nice little sharp one. So I'm just going to give her a little bit more length. It's funny. You can already start to see just the difference. This brow's looking a little bit more feathery. So I've just done a couple of strands. I've straightened her arch, and in turn that's going to lift her eye. Now I also like to put a bit of a shelf or a base camp, I call it, just in there. So what I'm doing, the same colour, and just with that same angle brush, just doing like a little, just at the roots. So shelf that, strand underneath to get the arch, move her brow in there a little bit. And then now for definition, all I really like to do with the brow to define it, I like all this to be really natural, but I do like a bit of definition above the last 3/4 of the brow and a perfect tip. I love these, by the way. These are Le Sorcel. Anastasia, Le Sorcel, and MAC are my favorite. So you can do this with a pencil if you like, if you want more of a powdered effect. Or how I'm going to do it is with the same brush, with the slightly lighter colour, and I'm just going to give her definition just here, and then this is going to lift her a little bit as well. So just on that top, put a little point in here. So I've done it in a way that's not perfect. I've just done like a little bit of a chunk, and you go, oh, how do I get that perfect? Okay, here it is. When you want your brow to end so perfectly, do your line and stop it shorter than what you want it to end. Pick up a clean angle brush with a hint of foundation on it and give yourself what I call a little, it's like a pair of scissors. You're going to do this little V effect here. And you're going to make that go into the most sharpest. Sometimes when you do this, what's great, that colour will drag. Sometimes it can drag all the way down there, like you just saw that. Get your little tongue trick, stick your tongue on that for me. Okay, and then get rid of the tail. Just needs a little bit more there and a bit of fill just there. Great. So come back, chin back, and I always come underneath when I'm doing my brow, and I look from underneath. And the reason for that is most beauty shoots that I do, they shoot from underneath. It's a clean angle brush just for this last little bit, and just here I just want to soften that a little bit. Now with Courtney, I would technically move her brows in a little bit closer together, but I want to keep her eyes apart. So you've got to kind of choose one over the other. So you can do that, you're done, then you can put a light brown mascara. So I'm going to do the same on the other side. Just see. Making sure it's perfect. And you know what, if you do the most beautiful brow and skin, you can just put mascara and lip gloss. And I always say with brows, underdo them, don't overdo them. So that's a little bit on our brows. And I'm just going to show you how I highlight a brow. This is what I'm using on her. It's a Chantecaille, sorry about the sticker on it. I'll put this up where you can see it. It's just a cream luminizer. So what I want to do here, we don't want to make this whole brow too shiny because it'll give you a very, very heavy eyebrow bone. Okay, so I've just got that Chantecaille highlighter, only highlighting with light on, and I'm only going to do the last third of that brow. Do not go over those little brow strands that you just did. So I'm just going to come in here, give her that really nice, just keep it, I just don't want to go lower than that bone.